Welcome to District Command Central, your go-to source for the latest news and updates on the Washington Commanders. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss a play. The NFL world woke up today to one of those twists that nobody, and I mean nobody, could have predicted. Chase Young, the former Defensive Rookie of the Year who many believed had closed the chapter of his career in Washington for good, is suddenly back in the nation's capital. It all went down in a lightning-fast trade that insiders are already calling the most unexpected move of the season. The whispers started as faint rumors, some chatter between beat reporters who thought it was just smoke. But within hours, the shockwave was official. Young is returning to the Commanders. Fans are stunned. Rivals are scrambling to understand the timing, and analysts are digging through cap space numbers trying to make sense of how this all came together. For a player whose departure was seen as a symbol of a rebuild, his comeback is being treated like the sudden return of a prodigal son, and already social media is exploding with theories, memes, and speculation about what this could mean for the franchise. Washington just went from being a team with plenty of defensive questions to suddenly becoming the center of attention in the entire league. The buzz around this trade is less about the logistics and more about the emotional impact it carries. Just months ago, Washington's leadership framed Young's exit as necessary, a tough but inevitable decision in the face of his injuries, inconsistency, and looming contract questions. Many fans accepted it, even if reluctantly, because it seemed like a clean break was best for both sides. Yet here we are, watching the Commanders reverse course in dramatic fashion, pulling Young back into the fold as if to say, "We're not done yet." What makes this even more surreal is how little noise preceded it. There were no extended rumors, no long build-ups, no trade deadline sagas like we usually see. It happened almost overnight, with insiders hinting that Washington's front office had been quietly laying the groundwork in secret. If true, this reveals a boldness and an element of strategy that no one associated with this franchise expected. For Young, it's a second chance, but for Washington, it's a signal. The organization is making moves that scream urgency and unpredictability. In conversations with people close to the league, there's already a sense that this trade could ripple far beyond Washington itself. Rival NFC East teams like the Eagles and Cowboys are reportedly scrambling to reassess their game plans, knowing that if Young is even close to his old dominant self, the Commanders' defensive line suddenly looks terrifying again. For years, Washington has tried to cultivate an identity rooted in physical dominance up front, and Young was always supposed to be the centerpiece of that philosophy. His injuries derailed those plans, leaving the defense inconsistent and fans disillusioned. But with him back, and perhaps healthier and hungrier than ever, that vision may not just be revived. It could be recharged in ways nobody saw coming. Imagine an already formidable front suddenly adding Young's explosiveness to the mix once more, with his knowledge of the system and his natural chemistry with teammates who never fully replaced his energy. That combination is dangerous, and that's exactly why this rumor-turned reality is shaking up the league in such a dramatic way right now. What's fascinating is the contrast in perception between fans and the media. Fans are largely celebrating, posting clips of Young's rookie highlights and reminiscing about when he was the unstoppable wrecking ball who seemed destined for superstardom. They see this as redemption, a homecoming, and a reason to believe again in a franchise that has often tested their patience. Meanwhile, the media is a bit more cautious, pointing out that Young's track record since that sensational rookie year hasn't been nearly as dominant, and his durability remains a question mark. This tug-of-war between hope and skepticism makes the story even juicier. On one hand, you have nostalgia and hype fueling the idea that Young's return is destiny. On the other, there's the cold, analytical take that this could simply be a gamble by a front office desperate to change the narrative. And somewhere in the middle lies the truth. This move has both massive upside and undeniable risk, and no one knows yet which side will win out. That uncertainty is what keeps everyone glued to the story. There are also whispers, and these are the kinds of whispers that stir up even more intrigue about why this deal happened now. Some insiders speculate that Washington's locker room has been pushing for leadership and energy, and Young, for all his ups and downs, has always had charisma that teammates respected. Others suggest the new ownership, eager to build goodwill with fans, saw Young's return as a symbolic gesture, a way to show that the team listens and isn't afraid to bring back a beloved face. There are even rumors floating around that Young himself initiated the reunion talks, expressing a desire to return to the city that drafted him and gave him his first big shot. Whatever the case, the timing feels almost cinematic, like a plot twist in a sports movie that nobody scripted but everybody is now dying to watch unfold. It doesn't feel like a coincidence. It feels like the beginning of something that could either revive a career and a franchise or crash spectacularly under the weight of expectations. If there's one thing certain about this shocking development, it's that it has reignited the conversation about Washington's future in a way that nothing else could. For too long, the Commanders have been a storyline of dysfunction, mismanagement, and wasted potential. Suddenly, they've injected a surge of hope, drama, and unpredictability into their narrative, and it all centers on Chase Young. Can he return to form? Can the team integrate him without revisiting the problems that led to his departure? Will this be a short-term experiment or the beginning of a long-term reunion that reshapes the entire trajectory of the franchise? These are the questions fans, analysts, and rivals are already asking, and the answers will define not just Washington's season, but potentially the balance of power in their division. One thing is certain, no matter how it plays out, this move has already ensured that the Commanders are once again at the center of the NFL's most dramatic storyline, and the spotlight isn't leaving them anytime soon. The real question swirling in every discussion right now is whether this sudden reunion between Chase Young and Washington is born out of pure football strategy or if it's something deeper, something more symbolic. Fans who watched him dominate as a rookie remember that energy vividly, and they see this move as the spark needed to reignite a team often labeled as directionless. But beneath that excitement lies the practical side of things. This front office had to pull off the deal in record time, which suggests urgency rather than long-term planning. Did they see cracks in their defensive identity? Did they feel pressure from ownership to bring in a headline name to keep supporters engaged? Or maybe this was a chess move to outsmart division rivals who were sniffing around, hoping to snatch Young for themselves. Whatever the reasoning, Washington has just changed its entire trajectory, and the return of a former cornerstone to the same locker room he once left behind sets the stage for a season dripping with storylines. Whether it's redemption, desperation, or pure brilliance, this decision will be dissected for weeks, maybe months, as the dust continues to settle around the league. Insiders are already piecing together a timeline that makes this deal even more fascinating. Supposedly, conversations began quietly during training camp, when Washington realized their pass rush wasn't striking fear the way it used to. Coaches, noticing the lack of explosiveness, reportedly floated the idea of bringing Young back, though at the time it seemed impossible. The front office denied it publicly, brushing off speculation as fan-driven fantasy, but now those denials look like deliberate misdirection. It's almost as if Washington wanted to ensure the element of surprise, pulling off a stealth move while the rest of the NFL was distracted with preseason drama elsewhere. What's even juicier is the claim that Young himself stayed in touch with several teammates, hinting privately that he wasn't finished with Washington. That detail paints this entire scenario not as a random coincidence, but as a carefully staged reunion, crafted behind the curtain until the timing was perfect. And now, with the shockwave officially detonated, everyone is left to wonder how long the planning really went on, and what other surprises this aggressive front office might still have hidden up its sleeve. The fans, of course, are riding this roller coaster like it's the biggest thrill in years, flooding timelines with clips of sacks, forced fumbles, and all the swagger that made Young a household name as a rookie. They're talking about redemption arcs, comeback stories, and the idea that sometimes the best endings are the ones that bring you full circle. At stadium parking lots, at bars across the city, and in online forums, the tone has shifted from cautious skepticism about the season to wild optimism. People are already predicting playoff pushes, division battles, and a defensive renaissance powered by the return of their long-lost wrecking ball. Yet beneath that joy, there's an unspoken fear. What if it doesn't work? What if injuries creep back, or chemistry falters, or the hype proves unsustainable? That duality, the intoxicating hope of glory mixed with the nagging fear of disappointment, gives this moment its dramatic edge. Washington fans know all too well how quickly dreams can collapse. But for now, they're allowing themselves to believe again, clinging to the narrative that maybe, just maybe, the Chase Young era still has unfinished business. If you're enjoying the coverage, make sure to smash that like button and drop a comment with your thoughts on the Commanders' latest moves. We want to hear from you. National media coverage is feeding this frenzy with constant analysis, each outlet spinning the story with its own flavor. Some see it as a stroke of genius by Washington's leadership, finally displaying the kind of bold decision-making that fans have craved for years. Others frame it as a risky gamble, pointing to Young's uneven production since his rookie campaign and questioning whether the Commanders are simply buying nostalgia instead of building stability. Talk shows are filled with heated debates, with former players chiming in about locker room dynamics, leadership qualities, and whether a player can really recapture the spark after being written off once already. The conversation is everywhere, dominating headlines and overshadowing other storylines around the league. That's how seismic this deal feels. It doesn't just affect Washington. It changes the narrative landscape of the NFL itself. Suddenly, every analyst, every rival coach, every defensive coordinator has to consider what a Chase Young revival might look like. And that uncertainty makes Washington one of the most unpredictable, and therefore most dangerous, teams in the league heading into the thick of the season. There's also a layer of rivalry that makes this story even spicier. The NFC East has always been one of the most brutal divisions in football, with historic franchises constantly battling for supremacy. By bringing Young back, Washington has reignited that arms race in dramatic fashion. Imagine the Cowboys' offensive line now having to prepare for a reinvigorated defensive front. Picture the Eagles, already loaded with talent, suddenly facing the possibility that Washington might have just leveled the playing field with one audacious move. Even the Giants, struggling to find their footing, have to rethink how they'll protect their quarterback from a familiar menace now wearing burgundy and gold again. Rivalries thrive on narratives, and this one has delivered a blockbuster plot twist that adds gasoline to an already raging fire. Every matchup in the division will now carry an extra layer of intrigue. Every snap scrutinized for signs of whether this reunion was brilliance or blunder. For Washington fans, that's the dream scenario. Not just competing again, but doing so in a way that grabs headlines and forces rivals to respect their presence on the field. At the end of the day, what makes this move so compelling isn't just the X's and O's. It's the human element. Chase Young's journey has been a roller coaster, from the heights of stardom to the valleys of injury and doubt, and now to this stunning return to the team that drafted him. It's a story dripping with redemption, unfinished business, and the chance to rewrite a legacy that many thought was fading. Washington, a franchise often defined by dysfunction and disappointment, now finds itself at the center of an inspiring comeback tale that could reshape how fans view both the player and the team. Whether this gamble pays off with playoff glory or collapses under the weight of hype, it has already captured the imagination of an entire fan base and the attention of the NFL world. And that's what sports is all about. Those unpredictable moments when narratives twist, when heroes return, and when hope suddenly feels possible again. Right now, in Washington, hope has a name, and that name is Chase Young. Thanks for tuning into District Command Central. Make sure to subscribe and follow us for all the Commanders news you need. Until next time, keep the faith and hail to the Commanders.